Mark hated Claire. Despite becoming his aunt after marrying his uncle, he couldn't stand her. Claire was a confident, decisive woman. With long blonde hair and a curvaceous figure, she cut an immaculate image beside her new, and rich, husband. She was also, of course, a shameless liar and only a slutty outfit away from being considered a bimbo. Her relationship with her husband, Jeffrey, proved her to be a gold digger, siphoning money from his bank to fuel her and her friends' costly lifestyles. Some would say it would be a dream come true to have an aunt who was friends with 5 lovely models. Mark, a constant witness to their personalities, would disagree. His uncle's mansion used to be his favorite place to visit. The large, open rooms were often the setting to a plethora of imagined scenarios Mark would play in his head. Sure, the young man shouldn't be using his time so childishly now, but it was the one slice of nostalgia he had as he grew up. Claire changed all that. Before he could object, his uncle had proposed to her and she quickly moved in. Mark and his family weren't even at the wedding. Claire and Jeffrey disappeared one week, and the next time they show up, it's official. When asked to see the wedding photos, Mark's mother was swiftly informed that no photos were taken nor was there any video. Naturally, they were all suspicious of Claire. Where Mark lived, it was not uncommon for women to marry financially stable men, pay little to nothing on the wedding ceremony, and then retroactively sell the man's more expensive possessions to make a quick buck. Indeed, Mark resented Claire. The slim young man never liked her, and he let everyone know. His parents and friends would listen to his rants about the new actions of Claire that boiled his blood. He would list off in his head all the little things about her friends that irritated him. Claire's very existence seemed to be an act of blasphemy to the boy. Perhaps if he had kept it to himself, the following events would never transpire. Mark, dear, you've spent an awfully long time in there. Do you need some help? While one of the few times she isn't annoying, the stress of the situation made it out to be. I was going as fast as I could. It isn't my fault it comes out slow. I'm fine, Claire. I don't need your help. Getting it up and going was hard enough without outside pressure. Not to mention last time I rushed it got everywhere. Are you sure? Sophia has the magic touch with these things. She can make it spray out if you let her. Before I can refuse outright, Sophia, a raven-haired Spaniard, speaks up. It's true, young man. Let me in there and I'll show you the ropes. As the rest of Claire's friends, I call them harpies, started giggling, the last of the hot, steaming liquid came out. As quickly as I could, I poured it into 6 cups, placed them on a tray, and brought it to the living room, where the flock of harpies were gathered. Each of them took a cup eagerly. Claire was the first to drink. Ah, nothing quite compares, Claire sighed. I merely rolled my eyes. It's just coffee. I don't see the big deal, I remarked. Mark, the true sigil of civilization is a cup of coffee. Yeah, well, the true indicator of a failing civilization is a coffee machine that looks like it's from the 30s. Are you ever going to replace that thing? Aunt Claire merely grimaced. Would it interest you to know I'm something of a hoarder? If it has a potential use, I keep it. The coffee machine still works, so I intend to keep it. Hoarding, just one more thing to add to the list of things to hate about Claire. You spend enough of Jeffrey's money on clothes already. What's one more expense? My dear nephew, I doubt your little male mind could understand the first thing about the importance of fashion. Besides, if I had a job, I'd use my own money. Alas, your uncle is a caring man. He didn't want his bride to work when she doesn't have to. So here I am, a housewife through and through. With that in mind, of course I'm going to use his money. Not now though. Her explanation only irritated me further. She could at least have some shame. It isn't fair for you to use him like that, I said. She lifted her eyebrow to that. Why not? I spent all the money I had on our wedding. He didn't pay a dime. We think it's more than fair. While her friends could tell I was getting tense, she could not. My uncle was practically my hero, and here this woman is talking about how fair it was that she uses him for money. I'm not stupid. Everyone knows she was a nail salon employee before meeting my uncle. There was no way she could have saved up enough money for a wedding ceremony. This time, I'd finally call her out on it. Cut it out with the innocent act. Everyone knows you didn't pay much of anything for your so-called wedding. You're just a whore trying to exploit my uncle with your slutty harpies. Said harpies gasped. A silence hung in the air as Claire stared daggers at me. I felt intimidated by the look of hate she was giving me. Get out. Now, she all but hissed. Quickly, I obeyed. The end of summer was at hand. Leaves were beginning to show patches of orange. Most students were spending their time relishing the last bit of freedom they had. That is to say, many were spending it recklessly. Rumors had already begun spreading about classmates. A girl named Lydia, for example, had declared she was getting married. No one has seen the groom, so most everyone laughed it off. I, however, didn't get much enjoyment. My Aunt Claire had asked to speak with me. Truth be told, I was little more than uneasy. I don't regret what I said, but the thought of facing her after the fact was a little terrifying. I walked up to my uncle's mansion. His car was missing, but that wasn't surprising. He often worked for long hours. It's good that he isn't here now. I'd rather not explain to him what happened if Claire and I get into a fight. I meet her on the porch. She's a sight to behold. 2-inch heels raise her higher as she wears a short parfait dress. The dress is a one-shoulder affair with a parfait-colored flower on the shoulder strap. She also has hair and makeup done. She seems ready to go out to a formal party rather than talk with her nephew. Unless she's into younger guys. I don't like where that thought is going. My dear Mark. I'm so happy to see you, she said with a smile. I imagine you're wondering why I asked for you to come here. Well, come on inside and I'll tell you. She led me into the mansion at a quick and almost excited pace. I briefly wondered what got her so happy. After all, last we spoke I said something I probably should have kept to myself. Still, I suppose it is better than her being angry. We scaled the stairs and moved down the halls, coming to a stop at the end of a corridor. I recognized where we were. The 2 doors on opposing sides of the walls led to dance rooms. I never knew why my uncle had them installed, but the open space of both of them lined with mirrors on the walls inside had made them a favorite place of mine as a child. Though both doors were shut, I could see the faint outlines of a shadow from beneath the door to the left. I presumed that's where she wanted to talk, so I moved to open it. Before I could reach the handle, Claire grabbed my wrist, holding it firmly. No, no. We talk in here. She motioned to the door to the right and pulled it open, leading me inside as she did. The room was different from what I remembered. In the center of the room was a pedestal, the kind boutiques have for customers. There was also a rolling chair that, admittedly, was rather out of place. She closes the door behind us, and we delve deeper into the spacious room. I turn to Claire and ask what's going on. So, what did you want to tell me? It's just that I've been thinking about what you said. You see, I get it now that I've calmed down. Of course you would think the worst of me. The reason you'd think that way is because you don't know anything about the wedding. So, I wanted you to come today so I can prove it to you. As much as I hated her, I do agree that some proof may alleviate my disdain for her, if only a little. All right, Aunt Claire. What evidence do you have? My aunt smiled maliciously. It was the kind of smile one gets when all their plans are falling into place. Well, that's just it. As I had told you on the day you insulted me so brazenly, I'm something of a hoarder. I keep everything of potential use. That includes certain souvenirs from the wedding. Claire clapped her hands twice. On cue, the door to the room bursts open, revealing her friends on the other side. They quickly shuffled in, closing the door behind them after. Each of them carried several items. 2 carried a brown wig and a heavy-looking box. Another one held a bag stuffed with something unseen in one hand and shoes, specifically heels, in the other. A 4th woman held garments that I was not familiar with. Sophia, however, carried something only a blind man could miss, Claire's wedding dress. Perhaps most striking of all, every one of them wore the same parfait-colored dress that Claire wore. It couldn't be a coincidence. These women were dressed as bridesmaids. Claire, what is this? I asked with a shiver. She placed her hands on my shoulders from behind me as the other women set up everything. When they had finished, they formed a semicircle around me, giggling with mocking grins. Hardening her grip, Claire whispered into my ear, "This is how you'll know I wasn't lying. You'll experience exactly what it's like to be a blushing bride, whether you like it or not. Ladies, strip her." Claire pushed me forward into the waiting arms of the now squealing harpies. They striped my shirt off before I could process what was happening. 2 of them then grabbed me by my arms and lifted me up slightly. I tried to winch free, but they were too strong and too many. The other women pulled my shoes and pants off after a struggle, followed by my briefs and socks. I was completely naked. As they held onto me, I could see Claire calmly picking up my clothes and casting them out the one window the room had. Sophia grabbed my chin and forced me to look at her. "You're so lucky, princess. You're getting your first pair of panties." She raised a silk, white pair of panties in front of me. Adding to its femininity, it had 2 white bows on the sides. Sophia reached down and slid my feet into them. I struggled and thrashed, vainly hoping to prevent the inevitable. Sure enough, the women held me tightly. Oh my! We have a feisty one. Irregardless of my resistance, Sophia slid the panties up my legs. I was in. To my shame and embarrassment, the soft texture of the panties aroused me, and my unmentionables stood in attention, bulging the panties outward. The women loved it. "Ah, she likes them. That's so precious." Sophia, in particular, made me blush. Oh my! Look at the little guy. To my shock and arousal, she gave it a quick kiss. Sadly for you, it's too little for my taste. Though they poked fun at me, it was clear they had no intention of slowing down. One of the harpies had already brought up a white, lacy bra. Made with a sensual material, it reeked of femininity. They forced my arms through the loops and hooked it behind me. I noticed the bra itself hang loose on my chest. It was when Claire stepped up that I realized the intent. In her hands were 2 silicone breasts. I had these special ordered. It's only right I did so. After all, it would be mean to allow our blushing bride here to be flat-chested. Once she turned them around to place under the bra, I noticed the telltale signs of adhesive. I shook violently, trying whatever I could to get away from her, but I was outnumbered. At all sides, the harpies stood there giggling, holding me in place. Claire took her time, making sure as she pressed them to my chest that they would stick. At last, she removed her hands and, sure enough, they stuck. Screeching in excitement, the women backed off for a moment to see their work thus far. Still reeling from what was happening, I looked for a way out. I ran for the door but almost rammed into it out of imbalance. The breast size was heavier than I expected. What do you think, ladies? Doesn't the D-cup size suit her? Claire haughtily taunted. Ignoring their critiques of my false breasts, I tried turning the knob to the door. It wouldn't turn. I tried harder, but it just wouldn't budge. You can forget about trying to escape, honey. Sophia locked it good and tight. It's only a matter of time before we finish dressing you. Speaking of which, let's give the princess her hourglass figure, shall we? I knew exactly what was coming next. Desperately, almost pleadingly, I pulled and twisted at the doorknob to escape. Yet it never turned. The harpies grabbed hold of me and dragged me back to the center of the room. There, Claire set up the chair in front of me. Sophia and the others wrapped a white corset around my waist and began tying it. Please don't. I plead. Claire looked to me without any sympathy. I suggest you hold onto the chair tightly. Instinctively, I obeyed, and not a moment too soon. Sophia began tightening the corset. I let out a yelp at the constriction. She gave a strong tug, squeezing down my waistline bit by bit. Though I howled in agony, I couldn't bring myself to speak. Come on. We can get another 3 inches, Sophia hissed. Sure, enough. They managed it. With each pull, my body was shaped more womanly. My waist shortened, meanwhile my chest and rear end grew slightly. I wanted to get away, to somehow get out of this thing, but the corset needed help getting untied. Whether I liked it or not, I was now trapped. I looked to the mirrors on the wall to see what they had done to me. I shivered at the sight. If it wasn't for my obviously male head, I would have sworn I was a woman. Excellent. She's beginning to shape up. I was worried you wouldn't have my figure when I wore the dress, Claire observed. With that done, they threw me into the chair and raised my legs. I tried resisting, but the corseting drained me of my energy. 2 of the women pulled out a pair of white stockings and gingerly rolled them up my legs. They were embroidered well, with white flowers embroidered all about it. Somehow, the soft material brushing against my skin aroused me even further. If I had a view of the mirrors from behind the mob of women around me, I knew I would see a hefty amount of blushing on my part. Claire didn't seem to miss my reaction. My. You're enjoying yourself quite a bit, aren't you? Perhaps we should dress you up more often. The women laughed thoroughly at the implication. Sophia bought out the heels next. They were, like everything else, white. They also were 3-inched. Making sure to make it as girly and fairy tale as possible, Sophia over-exaggerated placing them on my feet. She then pulled a strap around the top of them, locking my feet into them. I experimentally tried to kick them off, but to no avail. My torture was nowhere near over, however, as they grabbed my wrists and held out my arms. 2 of the women took both sides of me and slipped long gloves up my arms until it reached above the elbow. Their hands slid up my arms as they did so before the gloves straightened out and they gripped my wrists again. Claire then revealed a small tube of adhesive glue. As much as I struggled, it was once again in vain, and she began to apply it to the underside of the gloves. Don't worry. It's not dangerous or anything, Claire looked me in the eye. Although, I doubt you'll be removing them until after the main event. I shuddered at that. Main event? What's that? I inquire frightfully. Now. It wouldn't do to spoil the surprise. On to the girly fun. It's time we dolled up that face of yours. Sophia held onto my shoulders, forcing me to remain seated. Meanwhile, Claire led her harpies to the big box. Out from it they retrieved their tools of feminization. Lipstick, mascara, eyeliner, foundation, and all manner of cosmetics. I attempted to get up but was quickly pushed back down. I could only watch helplessly as they inched closer, grins on their faces with makeup held like scalpels. One of them had no makeup. Instead, she held several coils of rope. Together with Sophia and one other, they bound my arms to the armrest and wrapped a coil tightly just underneath my breasts, pinning me to the chair. As they did so, they talked over each other about all the things they would do to bring out the most feminine me possible. Finally finished tying me down, they began their work. They started assaulting my face with makeup of all sorts. Foundation was applied first, coating the skin on my face. After that, they split into teams, working on each part of my face in tandem. Blush was applied liberally to my cheeks and my lashes were highlighted and elongated with thick mascara. Bronzer was brushed over my face as my eyebrows were plucked to a thin line. I couldn't move my head at all to disrupt their work, as Sophia had a firm grip on my head and chin. This went on for some time. For the finishing touches, and not with any shortage of snide, Claire applied a thick coat of bright red lipstick on my lips. She took her time, seductively and mockingly brushing it back and forth. To my shame, this act, though inspiring no small amount of intimidation, aroused me once more. Claire grinned in satisfaction upon seeing it. "I think her transformation is almost complete," Claire told the women. "Even so. The bride here needs a better hairdo." They all quickly agreed, and Claire brought the wig to me. It was medium brown and of decent length. She applied adhesive to the inside of the wig and placed it firmly on my head. The adhesive dried fast and I could feel it stuck tight. Tied as I was to the chair, I could do nothing as the women brushed and dressed up my hair. Occasionally they would tug it just to make me uncomfortable and remind me that with every passing moment I was being feminized. When they were finished, they turned the chair to face the mirror wall so I could see the results. The first thing that caught my attention was my face. The makeup was applied well, and I looked extremely feminine, almost more so than Claire. My lips looked absolutely luscious, and my eyelashes were almost flirtatious, even wide in surprise as they were. Then I saw the hairdo they gave me. They had braided it complexly. It hung low in the back but seemed to curve to my left a bit. As feminized as my face was and as womanly as my body was, the reflection I saw tied to a chair was certainly that of a woman, and a beautiful one at that. As I marveled at my transformation, the women untied me. I stood up and took a step towards the mirror before I felt a firm grasp on my upper arm. Brought out of the stupor, I looked to see Sophia had grabbed me. Before I could even attempt to struggle, Claire stepped to the other side of me and seized my other arm. She leaned in close and whispered in my ear. "Now that you're properly shaped, it's time to get you dressed." Reality hit me like a truck as I remembered what all the corseting and makeup was for. It was time to dress me in her wedding dress. I tried jerking out of their grip, of course, but the high heels I wore made it difficult to escape their clutches without falling over myself, never mind the effect the breasts had on my balance. They led me up to the bridal pedestal where the dress was placed. The dress itself, I'll admit, was beautiful. It was a classic ball gown style, with a firm-fitting bodice and a bell-shaped skirt. Under the dress were petticoats to give the skirt volume. Furthermore, it had puffy shoulder pieces that gave it a fairy tale appeal. The skirt also had folds in it that gave it a fuller design. No doubt, it was gorgeous. But I didn't want to wear it. The women opened the back so I could step in. With all 6 of them pulling me into it, I soon found myself stepping into the dress. Claire and Sophia didn't loosen their grip and the 4 other women pulled the dress up my body. I could feel the rushing fabric brush against me, washing me in humiliation as it did. They forced my arms through the shoulder sleeves and zipped up the back. As it zipped closed, the dress tightened around me, and I briefly feared it would have the same effect as the corset. Before releasing me, they buttoned up a sheet of fabric over the back of the dress. "What is that?" I ask. A sly laugh answers me. "Oh, princess. That was to cover the zipper, so you don't think about taking it off," Claire mocks. A cold shiver runs through me. I can't get out. I stand there, shocked and dumbfounded, staring at Claire, who stares back with a satisfied smirk. I don't know what to say or think. I'm effectively their bridal doll for as long as they wish. While I stare, Sophia and another harpy wrap a large white bow around my waist, tightening it until my waist gets slightly smaller. And voila! The bride has been prepared. The harpies all clap and cheer all around me. More than once they send embarrassing comments about how lovely I look or fuss with the dress. I briefly notice one of them groping my fake breasts and shaking them for the amusement of her fellows. Even so, all I can do is stare mortified that I was so easily feminized by the aunt I so despised. I hang my head in shame and humiliation. No doubt I hadn't any need for the blush they applied. All right, Aunt Claire. You win. I'm as pretty a bride as you could make me. Now can you please get this stuff off me? My plea earned nothing but a snicker from my aunt. Pardon me. I guess you thought that this was it. No, nephew, this isn't the main event. My eyes widen in surprise. But then... Please, you didn't think I'd get you all dressed up and call it a day, did you? Look at what we're wearing. We're you bridesmaids, here to ensure you are ready for the wedding. What wedding? The wedding. The one we're going to escort you to now. This isn't real. It can't be happening. No. You can't make me. As soon as I said that, Claire and the harpies took on an aggressive and no-nonsense stance towards me. I was a rabbit in a den of wolves. We can and we will. Ladies, let's take the bride to her fate. No. Lifting up the skirt of the dress, I try to get away from them. Where? I'm not sure, the empty room leaves little option for escape. Worse, the combination of heels and the weight of the dress made movement difficult. Meanwhile, my captors' dresses were fairly short and allowed for much greater movement. I barely make it off the pedestal when the 6 of them swarm me. Hands wrap around my arms and torso, and I am dragged out into the hallway. I struggle furiously, jerking this way and that, throwing my weight around if only to get free. But it's no use, the harpies have no trouble leading me down the hallway and dragging me down the steps. When they finally get me outside, I spot a limo parked out front. For me, that was the carriage of doom. I try to get away, but find myself thrust into the back, where Claire, Sophia, and the rest of the harpies pile in. They all but tie me into a seat with the seatbelts. They call to the driver that I was ready, and the limo begins its trek. As the limo goes through town, I panic with each street. I couldn't get married as a bride. I'm a guy. After several minutes of anxiety, the limo finally stops. The harpies step out of the limo, dragging me after them. Once out, the limo leaves, trapping me out in the open. I look around, seeing where we were. Sure enough, we were at the cathedral. Sophia pushed a bouquet into my hands. Everything was happening too fast. Claire took my hand and began leading me up the stairs to the cathedral. I pulled back. Wait! I can't do this. Dress me up all you want. Humiliate me all you like, but please, I don't want to do this. I begged. I was on the verge of crying and was making quite a scene. People walking through the busy streets started to gather to watch the unfolding occurrence. When I said I'd show you what it was like to be a bride, I meant it. The whole thing. Now come, we're already late as is. Please. She paid me no heed and signaled for her fiends to help her. The women flanked me on all sides and, seizing my arms, pulled me towards the cathedral doors. All my protests were ignored as we entered. Finally, we entered the main hall. And it was something I hadn't expected. Sitting in the pews were a multitude of women. Some were in business formal, some wore dresses. All rose upon our entry. At the altar was someone I knew from school. Her name was Lydia, and she was dressed in a tuxedo. That's when I understood who these people must be. Lydia is an outspoken feminist, and not the equal rights kind. She was the role reversal kind. Upon closer inspection, all of these women were outspoken feminists I saw on news channels and the like. Every single one of them landed their eyes directly at me. Whether they were eyes of judgment or hunger, I do not know. The harpies released me, only for Claire to step beside me and take my arm. With a tug, she forced me to begin the walk down the aisle. I resisted for only a moment, but in that moment, Sophia quickly marched up and grabbed my other arm. Surrounded by man-haters with harpies directly following behind me, I was in a hornet's nest. There wasn't anything I could do. Claire whispered to me as we approached the altar. I just want you to know that all this was from my own savings. All for you. So, my darling princess, do you believe me now?